Hello.
Hello, welcome everyone. We are thrilled to have you here tonight. Tonight we have Angela Buckley, and I wanted to give you a little warning. I do have some construction happening in my home, so I promise that the house isn't falling down. But if you hear some things, it's okay. I'm very aware. I just wanted to make you aware, but we're still going to jump into this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. And we're back. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. So, Angela, you are our author for the evening, and we are thrilled to have you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, first of all, April, for having me here and being a part of your community. I really appreciate just the last few weeks of getting to know you, and I'm excited to see more about how you're developing and supporting your audience and listeners. Um, so, a little bit about me. I am a mother. I have recently finished a PhD in organizational leadership, which I did while working full time as an engineer in manufacturing, and am happy to have this transition time. And during that time, I have been writing these books and really trying to figure out how do we use leadership in order to make changes not only in ourselves but in the people around us. How are we having a positive impact? And working in manufacturing, you walk with people from all different types of lives and all different types of backgrounds. And what's important to me is that we understand that you don't know what you don't know, and that we are providing opportunities for people to learn, to grow, and to develop into these leadership roles, because you don't know if they ever got that in their home life, right? Different educational backgrounds. And yet everybody has value as a leader. And so the reason I started my first forward publication that's not academic based with Likeable Leadership as a journal is because when you start taking care of yourself, taking care of the inner parts of you, you are better able to learn, to grow, to develop with intention to positively impact the people that are around you. So, that is what I like to practice in my day-to-day life. I like to have conversations about that. I like to bring some of these conversations in my parenting, and just some of the other things that I do throughout my community involvement.
That is fantastic to really, I think the key thing that you said there is that we don't know what people don't know or what they've been exposed to.
Mhm.
And sometimes within job placements and situation, you will see kind of that leadership rise. And for others, they want and hope for it, but maybe
Yes.
don't know how to obtain it or what they need to do better. And I think sometimes we might, in our failings, want to quit or not
Right.
keep going in things. So if you have someone that we'll just say wanted to become a leader of
Mhm.
maybe their small group that they're managing or
Right.
something, um, what would be the best way to go about that?
So, first of all, leadership is developed. I don't believe that you're just born a leader. It takes years of practice. And so sometimes setting the intention of being a good leader is the very first step. So, I want to lead and I have the privilege of leading are the very first points of leadership, of choosing to be the leader. And then also learning that you have that accountability that's associated with it. And so when you say, I choose to be a leader, first of all, you can look around to the people who are leaders in your area, the ones that you like and respect, and you can ask for mentorship. You can have that conversation and say, hey, I like how you interact. I like how you're having the positive impact on the people around you, on our business, on our families. How do I learn to do that as well? Can you be my mentor?
That's a great idea. Mentorship really allows an opportunity for a one-to-one or a very small group to get into that nitty-gritty and learn.
Yep.
And a leader that shows by example and really has their words match their actions, some of the
Yes.
best kind of leadership, because it's true. It is something that I think we're hoping for and aspiring for, because we know when we have terrible leaders. We know that.
Yes.
And then it's like, but how do you change and make something better? What do we do? So this
Right.
is a really good opportunity. So tell me a little bit. We'll
Mhm.
discuss this. Let me put this up here.
Yep.
Okay. On the likable leadership, you call them journals.
Yes.
So how would a journal help me to become a leader? I thought that I need, like, here's your list of to-dos and go, go, go. Is that wrong? Like, share with me your thoughts.
Um, there is a difference between being a doer and being a leader. And so when we talk about likable leadership, I actually highlighted 12 different elements of characteristics, really, that you want to practice on a daily basis in order to grow your leadership journey. And so these aren't things of doing, these are things that are characteristics, and you live these characteristics through your actions, right? So in journal 1, we talk about humility, generosity, integrity, and consistency. And it's interesting. I chose with intention to have humility being the first one that we talk about, not because I believe that you have some sort of low self esteem. I think there is a big difference between low self esteem and humility. Humility is recognizing that we are all human and that we are all working together and that we're all learning together and we are all starting at different points in our races and our journeys. And we can find respect in everybody's growth. So we talk about humility as the very first one. And then, really, what we've done is there is a thought about humility each day and then a writing prompt. So, what I'm asking you to do through each of these weeks, as you go through all 12 elements when all 3 journals are posted, um, you are really turning inside and you're saying, how do I impact the people around me through this characteristic? And what are the actions that I'm choosing to put together in my day to day life in order to create and to exemplify that action? So,
So give me an
what's
example
Mhm.
of that based on just what you said.
Right. So, sticking with humility. Humility is recognizing when you don't know something and maybe there's somebody that works for you. Do not be afraid to go to that person and ask them for the information. As a leader, we are not required to know every single thing. What we're required to do is find out and bring the person who is the subject matter expert into the limelight and let them shine for that moment. That's humility and vulnerability and setting up that next person for success. And this works in parenting as well, right? I now have a teenager and we are working on the fact that I don't need to know all of his schedules. I do not need to know every single detail, but he does. And so if I ask him, do you have a game this weekend? Do you have a meet this weekend? I could probably go to the website and look it up, but it would take me more time. But I need him also to step up and own some of his own leadership as well. And so you're working together as you're growing on different elements of that leadership.
I think there's something really key to have the the question kind of bounced back.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with teenagers as a teacher in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and what we are practicing within our high school group is
Okay.
that leadership and kind of reflective questioning back.
Yes.
Or when it comes to problem solving, you
Mm-hmm.
have a problem, and they're used to, here, help me, and that's a fine model to start with.
Right.
And
Yes.
now the here, help me, we kind of feel like we're mirrors, and we say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how could you help? What could you do? What's the
Right.
first thing you think about here in this challenging situation?
Right.
Okay, and then we start to get this feedback, we get a conversation. Because at first, it's the easiest and the fastest thing, blame.
Absolutely.
And put out the blame. Like, okay, now you've blamed and labeled. We still have
Yes.
a problem. And now
Right.
the other person is upset now. What are we going to do now?
Yes. Yes.
So we're like reflective mirrors all day long. So sometimes I'm like, I need more Windex on that mirror there. It's
Yeah.
getting some spit.
And we all do. And again, I think that's the other important part of that. We're not perfect. And humility allows us to say this in a way that's still healthy. Because I want to emphasize again, this is not about low self esteem. This is not about not having confidence. In fact, I think you have to have a strong sense of self and strong self confidence in order to ask for help. And the best leaders do that.
That's very true. They group within a team, right? They surround themselves with people who can help them, not yes people, because that's
No,
different.
no, exactly.
That's different. But you are like, I know I have challenges in this area, or I'm weak in this area. I need
Mm-hmm.
a strong person on my team for that I can ask questions to, that the information coming back, then I can make a good decision based on that information. And that takes a lot of trust. I think
It
humility
does.
also takes trust, because you
Yes.
are very vulnerable. Love that sign. You're very vulnerable, and like, I because leadership isn't dominance.
Right.
Leadership isn't force. It shouldn't be. Should
Yep.
not be. And if it has been in places where you were, um, how did you feel
Oh,
about that leader? Well, I'm sure you can give me a whole TikTok video about that. I don't want that.
you just have to go search toxic leadership and you'll
I love it.
find an entire, yeah, genre, I think.
Yeah. So being humble with that aspect, and showing that I can ask some questions.
Hmm.
And um, so I have a question about that.
Okay.
If you're the leader and you're asking questions, can that put off other people of your team? Like, well, why don't they know? They're the leader. So, and if that happens, how do you support, or I don't want to say change that, but do you get where I'm going with that? What do you
It
do?
is true. And so what you'll see, there are definitely cultural aspects. And when I mean cultural, I mean like Germany, European, Southern Africa, right? Like you have different values that naturally come out because of cultures. And so when you're leading, you are leading within the culture where you're working. And I will say that in other cultures, asking is more prized than it is in the United States. And specifically, since I come from manufacturing, everybody there on the disc profile is like 99% D's, the dominant, they're supposed to know everything, incredibly direct individuals. And I'm really good at catching my earbud. So I apologize.
No problem.
So in manufacturing, it is incredibly difficult to ask questions in a way that shows vulnerability and still establishes leadership, because they are so accustomed to crisis leadership, strong leadership, direct. And there is a time and a place, absolutely, for crisis leadership, for direct, for not asking for all of that support. When you are getting people out of cities when they need to get out in immediate, like that is not the time to ask for everybody's opinion. It is the time to execute a plan. There is a difference, right? So when we're talking about likable leadership, we're not talking about somebody is over there bleeding out and we need to take action this very minute. We're talking about times when we're saying, how can I bring the group together and create a stronger product and a higher productivity? And we're going to really talk about risk mitigation and collective innovations. These are the times when you're really talking about the likable leadership. And so that is it is important to understand the time and place to use those. So if you're getting negative feedback, part of your opportunity is to ask the question in a way where you're demonstrating that this is an intentional leadership activity. I am going to ask you, I recognize you as the subject matter expert. So I want to ask you, and I would like to have you speak to the team on this topic. That's one way of saying I'm exercising my choice as a leader to give you the floor and then allow me to learn from your expertise.
Beautifully said. That allows an opportunity. And I also think as part of the team, a good leadership as part of that team feels that they too are honored and respected, because ultimately we know there's got to be a leader who has all the responsibility and who has to call the shots. And as a
Yes.
team working there, if you're not the dominating force and you will do X, Y, and Z and no one has a say, or if you're the lax leader of I don't know, I need help with everything, there's
Right.
that there is a balance there. There's a moment in
Yeah.
time there, like you said, and giving the example of the crises that are happening, you got to be direct and keep going.
Yeah.
Afterwards, you've got to come back as that team and reflect,
Yes.
change, because even though maybe quote everyone got out of the trouble that was happening,
Mm-hmm.
there was probably ways that when you get out and now everything's calm again, we can probably reflect, well, when I hoisted 6 kids on my shoulders and headed out, it's probably a different way to do that. Right. And so you reflect back on
Right.
things.
Right.
So
So good leadership also has a closed point. And this is an action that we talk about in leadership, which is a different than the elements that we're talking about in likable leadership. But one action that we would talk about in many of my leadership management courses is that deconstruction. Different organizations have different names for what they want to call that. As engineers, we're going to call that a three-legged 5Y. Military, they have a lessons learned or an after action report. And in the Boy Scouts, which has my favorite flavor, they call it roses, buds, and thorns.
yes,
And
for
a
sure.
rose is what did you like about it? What went well? And the thorn is what did not go well? What do we need to fix? And my favorite part is the bud. What are you looking forward to the next time we do this?
Love it. And those pieces are fantastic. So you have 12 elements within the
Yes.
journal, and you started us off with humility.
Mhm.
And what was our second point?
Our second point was generosity. And
Okay.
I was
That
not
was my
talking
question on
necessarily
the
about,
generosity. So as a leader, generosity, show me some ways that that might be demonstrated for
mhm.
their team. What does
Yep.
that look like?
And I wasn't talking about generosity like spending money, right? I think generosity is giving compliments. It's being available with your time. It's giving because we recognize that in giving, we actually are building people up. And again, what does that giving look like? It means for me, I'm very busy, but I still literally put on my schedule a time to walk around and meet with each one of my direct reports. And I make an intentional effort to meet the people that are not in my direct organization on a weekly basis, just going out and like, let's do lunch on Fridays or something. How do you build that? And that's just a time to get to know each other, but you're giving of your time. And I think a lot of generosity, people just think, oh, I'm flipping a coin here or there. That's not what we're really talking about. It's spending enough time with someone to get to know them and being close enough and curious enough that when you do give a compliment, it really resonates with them.
I think that's fantastic. That giving of time, self, because your time as a leader is even more, pressing just because
Yep.
things have
Yep.
to happen. But the investment within the person, within the team, within the individual, within the group really gives them value, importance, and they themselves, loyalty rises. If you are recognized and known for the work that you do and appreciated, loyalty, it will continue. And it's not anything in a weird, strange way, but when you're appreciated, the desire to give again and to give back to that leader, and leaders who appreciate and make that known in different ways, like you gave examples of, conversations, could be at lunch, could be just investing in compliments.
Yeah.
Big payoff in the end, and
Yeah.
not because you want to get gain, but because you genuinely in that humility and in that giving generosity, um, opportunity,
Right.
the change happens. No, that's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yep. Yep. So that's generosity, the willingness to help, etc. Right. And then the third one we talk about is integrity. And integrity can be simply summarized as doing what you said you're going to do, right? Like that, here are my words and here are my actions that follow up. And I think we all get tired. And so it's also important to understand that you have overcommitted. But as you get better, I believe you start really understanding where your limits are, where your personal boundaries are. And the better that you can articulate that, the better you are at exercising integrity and demonstrating integrity.
I love that demonstration and opportunity for people to see is a huge part, because when your words and your actions match,
Mm-hmm.
it builds more trust and more people are going to invest in with that. And I think that's fantastic. And it does make you more likable. I mean, let's be real, it
Right.
does. So that is
That's right.
fantastic.
And you don't have to be liked to be a successful leader, but it is easier to be a respected leader if you are likable and approachable.
Yes, right. Because we're not, going out with besties here. I mean, some
Right.
might become that, but
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
there is a sense of respect with it,
Mhm. Yes.
and that respect is well, I would say it really drives and motivated forward with the team. So it is interesting in your manufacturing and engineering, because a lot of that is action doing. Precision goes a lot with that. I would maybe say not a lot of open feelings, but
No.
those people are not robotic. They're
Right.
not robots. They will have those feelings. The time and the place and the expression of that will be very different than in the social sciences of life. That's just
Yes.
the nature of that beast.
Yep.
But humanity is still there, and it's still
Yes.
there.
Right.
So as a likable leader, you want that investment, and those pieces pay off in the end. They might show and demonstrate slightly differently,
Mhm.
but the feeling, that resonation right there that resonates with people, that's awesome. That's awesome for sure.
So
Um,
integrity,
yes, integrity.
and
So we've gone
then at
through,
3.
okay, what's our
Yep.
fourth?
So our fourth one is consistency. And so day to day, day in, day out, leadership from that perspective can be a little bit boring, but results like boring. And consistency is a real thing. Day in, day out, recognizing the changes, recognizing ebb and flow, but planning for it. And so being consistent can also go back to that integrity part of it of I need a break and I need a rest, and I will be consistent in taking my rest so that I can continue on at the same level, right?
Yes,
And it
for
builds
sure.
trust.
For sure. So, as a leader in these journaling questions and
Mhm,
activities that they're going to be practicing within the book, what is something that you would highly recommend for those people that want to become this leader
mhm.
that we might not have discussed yet?
So the one thing at the bottom of every single page, so every week has these themes for 7 days, basically, right? A whole week. And then there's different writing prompts within that. But at the bottom of every page is 3 gratitude lines. And I encourage people to really focus on what makes you happy today. What gets you out of bed in the morning? I ask that question a lot in my coaching. What energizes you? And then when you talk about the reflection, how can you also like encourage that in others? Like what energizes them? What are they grateful for that you can just add a little bit of a spark? So at the bottom of every page it has 3 to-dos that to practice. So you practice a week of humility. Ideally you're going to do 21 things that you think demonstrate humility. At the end of the week, you will also have written down 21 things that make you happy, that you are happy for, that is a gratitude that is giving back to the community. And emotions are contagious. And that's why this is on every single page. If you find joy in your day to day, the people around you will find joy in their day to day as well.
Agreed with that. And in that joy, because we all know that there's going to be hard things, you can still find a spark of hope, a butterfly of chance. There's still something. So continue with it, and the next day will be great. Today we had long, long trainings within my teaching community, and we were
Yes.
learning a lot. So the fire hose moment, like, okay, got a lot of stuff coming
Yeah.
in. We resorted to humor to get through it. And
Yes.
that was the joy, because that connects relationships, even when we're doing very hard things.
Yep.
And there were serious times, and after that we could kind of let off a little steam and laugh, and it was like, okay, we got through it, we did it. And there is a connecting and bonding with that, because when you find that joy, really, that everything else rises up. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Absolutely. I worked for a home goods company and we had an espresso maker. It takes the same amount of time to make 2 espressos as it does one. And so I never made one. There was always someone that was willing to have an espresso with me, right? And just taking that moment of checking in and bringing a smile to someone's face, it only takes a couple seconds. It costs no money to be kind and being grateful for having that person be present for a few minutes.
Exactly. Kindness is free. So, and it really goes a long way. I think that's fantastic. My friend Abby here, she says, you smile at another person, and this person will smile back, which is light and hope for me.
Yeah.
Perfect. Exactly what we're
Yes.
talking about. That's awesome. It didn't cost anything.
Right.
And sometimes they can be really good, really goofy. Those
That's right.
smiles are great. Well, in this likable leadership, this journal, where can we find it?
So you can find it on Amazon if you just search Likeable Leadership. Both journals that are currently released are available on Amazon, but you will also find a dedicated page on my website, strengthennature.com, and you can purchase from the links there as well.
Awesome. So again, you can go to her website, and that's running on the ticker underneath,
Mhm.
the strengthinnature.com, or
Yes.
you can find it on Amazon. So go ahead and grab this. This is now in a teacher's life. This is kind of the new year for us, right?
Mhm.
We kind of get two of
Absolutely.
them in the fall and then again in January. So we're looking at that leadership ability, leadership within the classroom, leadership to see how our students are going to pop up and rise to the occasion, how we will within our teams and in our departments. And so this is a wonderful opportunity. So all my teacher friends out there, go ahead and grab this. I think it would be fantastic. And what Angela, what excuse me. Oh my goodness. What Angela has to say tonight has been fantastic. And I really appreciate her leadership and her opportunity to come and to share with you, because she's not wagging her finger and saying, do, 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 do. She has lists, ways, times of reflection, and it feels like it's natural to do it this way. So I appreciate that, Angela. I think that's
Thank
fantastic.
you. I
Yes, you bet.
appreciate you.
With a few minutes that we have left, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience tonight?
So just summarize, there are 3 journals that will be the 12 elements total. So the one that you don't see yet, and it's written in the first journal, will be focus, celebration, honesty, and authenticity. These will end up being workbooks basically, and there will be a more in-depth book writing on that with stories, with examples that comes out later. So that we're doing it in reverse order with intent, because I want to see how people are growing, how they're using it. And if you have stories of how you're using it, please reach out. I would love to hear from you.
And they can reach out to you through the website. Is that how they can contact
Absolutely.
you?
You can find me on all the social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, on my website, Facebook, Instagram.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being part of the program tonight here at the Beacon of Light podcast. Thank you again for all those who popped up and who shared their comments tonight. And if they have any questions, please ask Angela. I'm sure she will be just thrilled to answer anything that we might not have covered. Again, go ahead and grab that book, Likeable Leadership. Find it on Amazon or on what's running on the ticker underneath on her website. And thank you again for everything, Angela. We will again see everyone next week on another episode of the Beacon of Light podcast. We'll see y'all. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.